A kick streamer is facing 20 years in a South Korean prison after filming himself harassing women, trashing businesses, and disrespect.
American influencer wants to be famous, but now he's...
They say karma comes with a price tag, but for Johnny Somali, the bill has arrived, and it's one most people couldn't pay off with a lifetime of OnlyFans subscriptions. The South Korean courts have slapped the notorious American streamer with a fine so colossal, $10 million, that we can practically hear his accountant scream from here. It's the kind of sum that doesn't just ruin your credit, it grinds your entire existence into dust. That's not a typo, $10 million. It's a mountain of money designed to end a circus, not just a career. The walls are closing in, and for once, it's not just for content.
And that extends the whole trial process by easily 2 to 3 months. So if he just pleaded guilty to that, things would be over pretty quickly. He would get his sentence and he would at least know what his fate is. But now they're deciding to extend the process for no real upside. And by him not pleading guilty, that just makes the sentence even harsher.
But let's not pretend this is a cosmic accident. Somali, whose real name is Ramzi Khaled Ismail, spent years on a one-man world tour of disrespect, bouncing from one country to the next in search of fresh outrage and new platforms to get banned from. He treated the globe like his own dysfunctional reality show, taunting, mocking, and trampling over boundaries he thought only applied to other people. He taunted Japanese commuters about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He mocked Korean memorials to wartime tragedy. He filmed himself pouring noodles onto store counters and cussing out store clerks. And all the while, he wore that red, "Make America Great Again" cap, as if a presidential slogan could shield him from centuries-old codes of dignity. The empire of chaos has finally collapsed, and it's not a soft landing.
Today, at least he was very serious. So, currently he's facing 8 counts, or 8 charges, and 4 of which are obstruction of businesses, 2 of which are misdemeanors. He pled guilty to all 6 of those charges. Then you have the 2 big charges, which are the deepfakes charges, and the deepfake charges are for distributing.
Now he's been handed what can only be described as a loaded gun with a sticky note: pay up, or the next act is life in a South Korean prison. The authorities have made it clear Somali gets a suspended sentence if he manages to conjure up $10 million. Anyone with a calculator and a sense of reality can see it isn't going to happen. Somali's streaming income dried up months ago. His old haunts on Twitch and YouTube have shown him the door, and even the sketchier streaming sites have started to flinch at his name. Every second that ticks away is another step closer to a cold, gray cell. The prosecutors, led by a veteran with a win rate over 90%, aren't in the mood for leniency. One legal expert put it flatly: they're looking at this and saying, yeah, we kind of need to give some severe punishment here. And that's before we even get to the next legal landmines ticking under his feet. Ismail can spin it on Rumble or whatever third-rate platform is left, but the stakes aren't going anywhere if he can't pay the fine. And let's face it, unless he starts streaming from Fort Knox, he can't. Then his brief taste of freedom disappears. South Korea isn't the kind of place where you plead poverty and get a hug. It's decades, maybe a lifetime, behind bars. And this isn't the U.S. justice system, where a good lawyer and a bad childhood might buy you sympathy. Here, the judges aren't streaming for content, and the audience isn't waiting to be trolled. One wrong move, one failed payment, and he becomes another cautionary tale for every self-styled New Ison streamer who thinks East Asia is just a big playground for viral videos.
For people out there, this is the sentencing range before today. It changes wildly, and you're going to see it in the best way. And that's the best way for me and those who want Johnny Somali convicted, and the worst way for Johnny Somali after this one.
What's wild is the way Johnny Somali seemed to float above consequences until now, swaggering through airports, treating apology videos like Instagram stories, and even taunting his own captors from inside a police car. He actually told his American followers he wouldn't face any real punishment because, as he put it, "I'm an American citizen." He showed up to his court date in that infamous red hat over an hour late, reportedly still reeling from a late-night bender the evening before. He looked like a man who still believed in the myth of his own invincibility, but reality doesn't care about his follower count. And the Korean public, from online mobs to literal mobs, made it their mission to take him down a peg or 10. Social media buzzed with rumors of a bounty on his head. Even the National Assembly had to discuss how to stop American pranksters from treating Seoul like the world's least supervised frat party.
Ramzi Khaled Ismail has been hit with a new criminal charge. That's right. As of 2 days ago, on the 25th of July of 2025, we have a new criminal charge for Johnny Somali, aka.
Yet, here's where the plot twists from cautionary tale to absolute fever dream. Just as the dust started to settle and the legal tally ballooned, from obstruction of business and minor crimes to include things like spreading propaganda and lewd content involving minors, new whispers began to surface. Whispers about a scandal so bizarre it almost makes his street antics look quaint. There's talk in the corridors of Korean law enforcement about Somali dabbling with AI deepfakes, not just as a novelty, but as a weapon. The word is he might have been leveraging AI-generated videos to pressure, silence, or outright blackmail would-be whistleblowers. Maybe you saw the rumors. A female Korean streamer allegedly depicted in explicit AI footage with Somali's fingerprints all over the scheme. That charge alone could add 7 years to his tab if proven. Nobody knows exactly how deep the scheme runs, but the suggestion is simple. This wasn't just some dumb prank gone wrong. It might have been a full-on digital extortion operation hiding behind all the noise. For a guy who can't even keep his streams online, Johnny Somali sure seems to be at the center of more criminal innovation than the average Bond villain. And the more his defense team scrambles, the more charges pile up: obstruction, offensive behavior, lewd acts, propaganda, digital exploitation. The prosecutors could probably start a new genre of crime just by listing his alleged offenses. In one case, a parent from Lahi World claims Somali's text-to-speech donations were so explicit that they're pushing for the absolute maximum penalty the law will allow. Meanwhile, the deepfake angle means we're not just talking about petty mischief or culture shock anymore. We're talking about potential victims, mounting civil claims, and a legal quagmire that could stretch out for years.
While merging in a charge. It is atypical for this to happen once, but it is completely unprecedented from the people I've talked to, lawyers, others in this process, to see this many merged into the case, which really means they are hitting him and with needles and needles. And
yet, every time it looks like the curtain is falling, Somali grins for the camera and shrugs it off. Is it bravado, delusion, or is there something more sinister bubbling beneath the surface? That's where the next layer of rumor begins to harden into conspiracy. We keep hearing that Somali's unshakable confidence isn't just the product of American ego or streamer narcissism. Some observers are starting to wonder if there's secret backing at play, high-level intervention, perhaps, or strings being pulled behind the scenes. Why else, they ask, does he keep flaunting his U.S. citizenship, appealing to American consular officials, and showing up at court as if he's waiting for a hero's welcome? Legal mindset. The American lawyer who's been dissecting every twist of the case claims to have spoken to State Department sources who say there's no cavalry coming. But could there be another channel, a whisper campaign, a secret backroom deal, a government hand guiding this chaos for reasons we haven't yet uncovered?
Trend that I called out in the beginning, and I said this would happen, and exactly as I predicted, we are seeing new charges added right before each court date. Every single.
It's no longer just a question of a loudmouth YouTuber paying the price for his antics. Now we're staring down the barrel of a scandal with global stakes. An American citizen accused of weaponizing new technology, leaving a trail of cultural outrage, public assaults, and digital blackmail, all while hinting at protection from powers far above his pay grade. Is Johnny Somali just a headline-chasing clown? Or was he ever really just a pawn, a tool in some bigger, darker game being played across borders, screens, and secret courtrooms? The next move belongs to forces we might not even see coming.
So we just got out of Johnny Somali's third court day here in the beautiful yet rainy Seoul, South Korea. And it's safe to say, last time things went terrible for him. Today things went awful. And honestly, kind of embarrassing because a lot of the stuff they did not make sense whatsoever. Clearly, he was way more locked in. He realized how much he screwed up now, it seems like, and he's realizing, I might be stuck in...
As the Somali saga continues to unravel in real time, we can't ignore the shockwaves it's sending through the entire streaming universe. This isn't just the messy collapse of a single provocateur, it's a front-row seat to the hidden costs of a new online phenomenon, the age of nuisance streamers. With every reckless broadcast, Somali left a footprint that stretched far beyond viral numbers. Businesses had to lock their doors. Employees quit their jobs in disgust. Entire neighborhoods found themselves thrust onto the global stage as punchlines or victims. What once passed as content is now a case study in how digital stunts can warp real communities. In Seoul, we saw it firsthand. Exhausted subway riders suddenly exposed to booming propaganda music, convenience stores turned into war zones over instant noodles and banned beverages, and sacred memorials hijacked for the amusement of strangers. We're left asking, how much real-world damage does a viral prank need to cause before the world says enough? South Korea seems determined to answer that question with a vengeance. The government's approach to Somali is less about one man's fate and more about drawing a hard line for everyone who profits off humiliation and chaos. Even in the halls of parliament, lawmakers are talking about new laws and tougher penalties designed specifically to shut down this genre of digital spectacle. They're looking at this and saying, yeah, we kind of need to give some severe punishment here. As one attorney bluntly put it, We're witnessing the birth of a new precedent, one where countries refuse to let foreign clout chasers treat their cities as disposable movie sets. Other streamers, especially Americans and Europeans with a taste for IRL controversy, are suddenly very quiet online. This trial is turning into a warning shot heard around the world.
He is frequently getting arrested in foreign countries for his on-stream behavior, but they always let him go. With the amount of sentences this guy's
If Somali wanted to become infamous, he got his wish, but not in the way he imagined. Even as the courts decide his legal future, the chaos he stirred continues to echo. There are reports of Seoul locals who no longer feel safe at their favorite stores, families who still avoid certain subway stations, and employees who can't erase the memory of being ambushed by a camera and a foreigner yelling slurs. We've watched other content creators pivot away from shock tactics, deleting old videos and scrambling to sanitize their digital footprints. Nobody wants to be the next headline, or worse, the next face on a government-wanted poster. We can't examine the spectacle of Johnny Somali's implosion without confronting the culture that built him up in the first place. The rise of IRL villains didn't happen in a vacuum. It was engineered in real time, one outrage clip and angry reaction at a time. Social platforms that claimed to stand for community guidelines quietly cashed in as engagement spiked with every new boundary Somali trampled. The algorithms didn't just tolerate hate streaming, they rewarded it, feeding the worst moments straight into the global bloodstream, each view translating to real money. For a while, there was almost a dark genius in how streamers like Somali played the system. Provoke, escalate, monetize, repeat. The rules were simple. If people were talking, no matter how furious, the numbers soared. But it wasn't just the platforms counting the profits. As viewers, we watched, shared, commented, and turned every stunt into a trending topic. Even those who claimed to hate what Somali represented found themselves doom-scrolling his antics, glued to the screen as if unable to look away from a slow-motion car crash. There's a strange psychology at work, collective outrage giving way to morbid curiosity, then for some, actual fandom. The more polarizing Somali became, the more power he gained. This cycle didn't just enable toxic behavior, it encouraged it, making celebrities out of those willing to cross every social and ethical line for attention. So this turd, his name is Johnny Somali. Well, that's not his actual name. His real name is... Now, with Somali's spectacular fall, the reckoning isn't only about how to punish one individual. It's about whether we, as a digital audience, have finally hit our limit. Are we complicit in creating the very villains we claim to despise? It's a bitter question with no easy answer, but the evidence is hard to ignore. As the platforms scramble to rewrite policies and law enforcement catches up, the viewers themselves are left to reflect on their role in fueling the fire. The story of Johnny Somali isn't just about a streamer's hubris. It's a cautionary tale about the psychology of modern fame and the culture that made such infamy inevitable.
Anyway, Johnny Somali was arrested partially for his own safety because after days of him streaming himself being incredibly rude and disruptive in South Korea, there were literally hundreds of Asian people on the street, all hunting down a black...
And yet, the response to Somali's reign of mayhem hasn't been left solely to the legal system. As the drama escalated, something straight out of a dystopian thriller began to emerge. Public bounties on social media and local message boards. Korean influencers and everyday citizens began offering real money to anyone who could pinpoint Somali's location or catch him in the act. One close to $800 for information, another for teaching him a lesson. The result was a citywide game of cat and mouse, where every trip outside risked turning into a live-streamed confrontation. Somali got punched in the face on broadcast, chased through busy streets, and targeted by a swelling crowd of amateur bounty hunters. Each assault was clipped, shared, and cheered online by audiences who felt the courts were moving too slowly. What's so disturbing is how the lines blurred. Is this justice, or are we watching a digital mob create its own form of law? At what point does the pursuit of accountability turn into vigilante chaos? Legal experts warn that this may be just the beginning, a new era where public outrage, turbocharged by live video and instant messaging, replaces actual due process. We've seen it before in other contexts, but rarely with this level of intensity and coordination. The authorities themselves had to step in, warning both Somali's pursuers and defenders that South Korea's justice system would not tolerate citizens taking punishment into their own hands. Still, for many locals, the feeling lingers that this was the only way to reclaim a sense of dignity from a situation that never should have happened. The man at the center of it all, meanwhile, remains bizarrely defiant, still posting online about his supposed immunity and American passport. His apology for mocking Korean history was panned as insincere, especially when even after the incident, he refused to delete the offending photos and videos from his own social media accounts. I just want to apologize for what I have done, and my behaviors did not mean to hurt Koreans' pride this much, he said at one point. But most viewers saw only empty words. As each day passes, the list of allegations against him grows. There are fresh rumors of new digital evidence, including AI-generated videos used as leverage against potential victims. Some legal analysts believe the court could seek a combination of fines, civil damages, and a sentence that stretches into decades, an all-in gamble to stamp out the entire nuisance streamer playbook for good. My guess is police have been looking for an excuse to bring him down for a long time. And finally, he did something. International reaction hasn't been far behind. In Japan, the press is watching closely, recalling Somali's earlier ban for anti-Japanese hate and viral harassment. Legal circles across Asia are tracking the Korean case as a possible model for their own future prosecutions. American authorities, meanwhile, have offered no official support, distancing themselves from Somali's actions despite his very public attempts to trigger a diplomatic rescue. The world is watching, and the message is crystal clear. The era of digital impunity is ending, one streamer at a time. We're now in the final countdown. Somali's court date looms, the $10 million fine still unpaid, and prosecutors are reportedly preparing yet another stack of fresh charges, including, some say, violations of anti-terrorism law and additional accusations involving digital manipulation. The travel ban holds firm. Somali is trapped in Korea with no realistic hope of escape. His streaming careers are on life support, his infamy sealed, and his every move scrutinized by a mix of official investigators and online sleuths with nothing better to do. There are whispers that more witnesses are ready to testify. More evidence is being assembled, and the prosecution's appetite for making an example out of him only grows. This isn't just the story of Johnny Somali. It's a warning shot fired at every influencer who ever thought the world was theirs to prank, mock, or exploit. The clock is ticking, and the stakes are now bigger than any single headline. Will Somali find some last-minute miracle? Or will this trial become the moment the world finally says enough to the chaos for profit era? Is he just the first domino to fall, or the scapegoat for an entire generation of clout chasers? Let us know what you think. Drop your take in the comments below. Is this the end of digital anarchy, or just the beginning of something even darker? Stay tuned. Keep your notifications on. And remember, in today's world, everyone is watching. See you in the next story.